are you doing? So we are continuing today from where we left off last week. So I'm going to share my screen. We are going to have just a slight recap of what we've gone through, and then we begin with today. Let me know when you can see my screen, and then I begin. All right. Okay. So last week we spoke about how the notification comes from SNS, hits our system, we save in the email DLR, we have a scheduler that splits the email DLR into individual timestamp, and we basically take these files and then save them 100 at a time until it's all good. So today, I'm just going to take us through the final code. We took a look. We also spoke about the models that we used in, the whole process, which is the not this one. Where are you? Great. So it was the email job, which contains the job and its description, the email log, which is basically one row to one email sent out. So for 100,000 blast, we would have 100,000 rows over here, and email job stats, which is an aggregation of the statuses over here. So you could see pending, sent, rejected, bounced, and all. So last week, we went over the code that's handled this. So today, I'm going to take us through the final code, which handles some failures, exceptions, and how we move forward with that. So with last week, when we took a look at the code, I think it's tags.py. This is email tags, this is messaging, it's not messaging, it's updated, yes. So split DLR to chunks, basically that's the scheduler that takes this and splits it into chunks. Then save DLR to DB, it's the process that takes these files, 100 files at a time, and then processes it, yes. Okay, so when we went through this code the other time, I mentioned what this is happening is you are grouping the results that we find here into the various statuses, and we are writing a very large update query. So over here, we find a number of rows that were successfully updated. Then we find the job IDs that were updated too, because multiple blasts could be going at the same time. So the DLRs in here might not belong to the same job. So we find all the job IDs that were successfully updated. So over here is where we begin some form of error checking. So this error checking, what it does is we count the number of lines of DLRs here. So ideally, it should be 200. And if all is good, total lines processed, where total lines processed are the number of lines in the DLR, should match the total lines updated in the email log. Yes. So if it's 200 and 200 or whatever amount, 50, 50, 10, 10, then we can confidently say that all the individual DLRs were successfully updated. We can delete that file and then move on with our life. However, in the chance where an update failed, right? Remember, there are 100, is it 120? I think 200. There are 200 files here. Sorry, 200 DLRs here. So if we don't get a 200 updated, that means there might be one or two DLRs that are not updated. It's maybe from a couple of reasons. Maybe they're writing to the DB field, or it's not yet written to DB or something. So what happens here is we log it, rewrite the information. So ideally, if you look into the log, you would see file name would be retried since, and we find a difference. So maybe let's say three DLRs were unable to update. And then we pass the file to the DLR fallback handler. So what the DLR fallback handler basically does is, so let me take this file. So we pass this file to the DLR fallback handler. So if you usually, when I was processing it, it could be 10, 5, whatever. So that means there are some DLRs in here that successfully updated and some that failed. And the saying goes, what, a couple of bad peanuts spoils the bunch or something like that. So the DLR fallback handler, what it does is it splits this file into two, right? So if it's 200, it will split it into two files of 100 and 100 each, right? And it will retry this and retry this using the same logic found over here. And it will keep working on this, right? Until, so think of it like something like a binary. So it's working like on a binary level. So if it splits it up, oh, sorry. So if it splits it up and this fails again, this will get split up again. This will get split up again. And by split up, I mean divided. So we started with 200 here. It becomes 100, 100. It becomes 50, 50, 50, 50, right? So it will continue. But if, let's say, all these 50 successfully saved, it will delete this. If all these 50 saved, it will delete this. This didn't save, so it will keep going this way. And it will keep working this way until it's able to isolate the particular DLR that's failing to update. So let's go into the code. So DLR fallback handler, very structure, so you can read this to get an idea. So this is just a split of the file name and the extension. We get a list, and then so you can see this where the division happens, right? So so this where the split happens. And what also happens? Let me see. I think I am also, hold on. So the split happens. Yes. Just a minute. It's been a while since I read this, but this is what it does. Just a minute, let me see. Ah, yes. So division happens here. If divides, if only. Okay, so if divisor is 0, so I'll talk about that later. If divisor is 0, where if divisor is 0, I think it is just left with 1. So 1/2, the floor, I think it hits 0 or something like that. I'll talk about it. So the normal flow we define, then we write the file name in _1 to store the first half, as you can see from the slicing. That's happening here. Then number 2 to store the second half, as you can see from the slicing over here. We put it in the same able DLR, and then our scheduled task that works on this DLR picks it up. So it will keep basically, so if it fails again, it will push it to here and to keep splitting it up. So this is only one MID left in file and how to proceed with problematic MID. So what this means is it splits this all the way down into one final update. And I think I showed a structure of how the MID kind of, I typed it somewhere. Okay, I think I typed it. But the MID is basically something that looks like this. We have the status and then the external ID. I remember I went over this last week. So if you look at the DLRs, what we'll find is the status, right? And the status would be delivered, whatever. That is delivered. And then the MID, which is message ID, which is also external ID, would be whatever ID we have from the third party we are using, right? So when I say there are 200 in here, basically 200 of such stuff. So this division will continue all the way, if the MID, the DLR is unable to update, this division will continue all the way down until it's just left with one MID in a file. So I think if it's just left with one MID, we get a divisor of 0. This is, I think, 0.5, and I'm doing the floor, not the ceiling. So the floor 0.5 is 0. Yes, the floor 0.5 is 0. So if it's 0, and we check, the extension is DLR or 10. And let me explain what I'm doing over here. So the reason we kick this is we know a DLR is failing, but I don't know which DLR. We've been able to go all the way down to isolate that problematic DLR. However, maybe an update right in the database was late or something. So we are trying that DLR on its own. You know, it's already been tried a number of times before it even hits this. However, we are trying it for x+1 number of times. So every time we try, every time the divisor is 0, that means I got one MID, we will try it. If it fails, we increment the number. So we can see file name dot extension. So the extension, so we will start at, I think, 0 or 1. I think either 0 or 1. So with this extension, we will keep incrementing this extension until we reach an extension of 10. That means we've tried this MID 10 plus times and it's still unable to update. So there is an issue. However, we will not discard this MID. What we would do is it will be written in the log, the loaded lines. So this loaded lines would basically look something like this, right? With a message discarded, MID not found in DB. And what basically means is we've tried this 10 plus times and they're still not found in DB. So this is another thing. If we see this, we may need to start diagnosing to see what happened. Was it a save that's a save that didn't occur well or something? So that's how, so yeah, the system, I think we've written it to be able to handle DLRs not existing. We split all the way down, then we tried 10 plus times for that to see if it would work. So that's how the DLR fallback handler happens. Any questions before I move from here? And I hope it makes sense, the process of how we handle the DLR fallback. And I would also like a confirmation that you get it if I should move on from here.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. So that's the DLR fallback handler. I remember I implemented this for the email, but I don't think I've implemented for the SMS. So it may be something you might also need to look at. Then the final one is adding the email to blacklist. I think Eric asked a question about this, and over here I can shed some light onto it, Eric. Great. So there are some statuses where if we receive them, we automatically add it to the blacklist. And these are the statuses: bounced and complete. So bounced basically means that's a shitty email that was given to us, it does not exist and it bounced. And if we ever try pushing to an email like that again, it's going to hurt our reputation, and that's going to prevent us from sending emails in future. So what we do over here is we get all the statuses that are bounced, and then we push them into the blacklist table. So before any email leaves Nalu system, any email, doesn't matter who did it, we check, does the email already exist bounced? If it does, we clean it, like we don't even attempt sending it. And the second status is complaint. So complaint is basically a user has moved it from AE to spam, from inbox to spam, or marked it as spam. We get it as a complaint. Now, if the user does not manually take it back from complaint to AE inbox or whatever, and we get a high number of complaints from that particular user, what usually happens are, if we are to send emails to that user's main domain, for example, what should I say? Let's say you're using Gmail. For example, I get some important emails that are automatically filtered to spam because, you know, the way that people mark that email messaging is marked as spam. A couple of billion from maybe Namecheap, or I think another one was with some other app I was using. It goes straight to spam because people have mentioned that as spam. So it goes to complaints. So to prevent our messaging going to complaints, because we have various users using it, someone might decide to use the platform for the various reasons. Someone might use the platform for just straight up spamming, and might continue spamming with the same email list he has. There are a couple of emails and he wants to spam them, right? So to help our reputation, if an email comes in as complaints, right, we basically push it to blackmail. So if you go to blackmail, you would find the email there and the type, whether it was a bounce or a complaint. So you can see we are pushing to add email to blacklist over here. We find these two statuses, and then we update the blacklist. Eric's question, I remember, was he was asking us if we are able to blackmail per client, per user. And yes, it would be possible to blackmail per user. We will just need to update the logic over here and also update the logic that confirms the blacklisting and the complaint. But currently, we have one person complaints, Nalu's platform will no longer be able to send to that again. So that is the process. Then the final part which I'll touch on is the save email statistics. So I think I remember saying, I remember mentioning we use these three models: email job starts, email logs, and email job. So email job start is just a summation of the various statuses. So if you go to the schedule task and go to schedule task, and we are done with saving the statuses of the individual logs, the individual email logs, we get distinct job IDs, right? And with those distinct job IDs, we update their statuses. So all this does is we are just doing a summation of the various statuses in what's it called? Email logs. And that's what we are doing. Yeah, and that's all what we are doing. We are doing the various updates over here. It's just some code I just wrote to, I was testing something out and it looked okay. That's why I left it like that. It may be a little bit unreadable, but yeah. So it just updates the records of it. So even if, let's say, a job has finished and an MID count maybe 2 days or 3 days later, this just updates, sums everything up, and then yeah, we pick our email job start. Yeah. So that's basically the flow of how we handle our DLLs and our messaging. For this log, most of the log, you can find it, if I remember correctly, when it comes to updates like this, you will not find it. So I think we have a folder for logs, right? And inside the folder for logs, we have several logs. I think we have syslog. So syslog contains a lot of information. But for most of the DLR messages, I think it's called bulk logger or something like that. You find this in the bulk logger. Yes. So that's where you are able. I don't know if I'm also putting it in syslog, but I'm confident it's also going into bulk logger. So if you access the logs folder, you could find it in bulk logger, and then when a blast is going, just take a look at it. I think one thing I wanted to do, but I don't know if I had time to do, was also, let me confirm here. Just check something. No, this is DLR. Just a minute, I'm going to confirm something. Yes. So one thing I wanted to do but I didn't finish doing was, so as you can see, it's bulk logger is, and I hope one of you guys can do it so that it will be distinct. We can change this from info to error, right? So that the errors will stick out somewhere. Currently, all the logs are being saved as info. So if the exceptions and the else can be updated to error so that it kind of catches our eye, it can be updated. So that is kind of the flow. Well, it's not kind of, that is the flow of how it leaves our system, hits Amazon's email service, and how we process notification coming from Amazon SNS. I believe with this information, you have enough to be able to start deciphering, where an issue is, which login file you can access, and the whole process. Yes. So right now the floor is open for questions.
I have a question. I didn't quite really get the DLR updates, but at the latter part where you mentioned that you do a retry of 10 plus 1 times, and if it fails, you log it somewhere. X. Did you say 10 plus X? Okay. Now, the only thing, well, you also mentioned it on call, that there could be that we don't have that ID in the DB for an update to happen. That is currently the only reason I can think of now. But I want to find out why you didn't decide to, unless there are other reasons, why you didn't decide to insert if the update fails, but log it somewhere.
By insert, as in the email logs model.
Yes, in the DB.
In the DB. Okay. So remember that the email log, the MID or the XID, that's the external ID, is basically the ID from our third-party client, right? And it's something like a reference, it's an ID. So if the ID does not exist, I don't even know how to pick it up, because one, I'll not, if I go to the email logs, right? Not you, let me just close you. Okay. So where's email log? Great. The MID comes to search for in this external ID. Now, it's through this MID we're able to know which email job it even belongs to even perform a statistics update, perform the email stats update. So even if we insert it here, we don't even know which email job it falls under. We don't know which, what's it called? What's your name? Which email it's even sent to. All we have is the ID. I haven't confirmed if we can get this information from Amazon, right? Maybe there's an endpoint available, so you might need to read the SDK to see there's an endpoint available where we can send them an ID and they'll give us back the details related to that message. But for now, since we don't have the details here, we can't really proceed with it. I hope you get me.
Yes. So if the details were
Mhm.
to be present in it, would you have done that?
If the details were present in which part?
The callback. So the callback, we have the external ID. If we had the email job too in there, would you, and then an update was failing, would you have tried inserting?
If I remember correctly, I do not remember seeing that in there, right? Let me see if I'm logging the full body over there. Where's Amazon?
I'm just giving an example here.
Yeah,
Like
I
let's
get you.
assume that okay.
If the information is there, then yes, I believe once we've tried an X number of times and we are pushing it into the failure, what we can do is at the end of the day or something, we can take all those failures, right? And then slide them into their corresponding positions. However, the only way we're able to do this is if all the information is part of the callback that hits us from the third party. And currently, it's been a while since I saw the structure of that callback, so I cannot confirm nor deny it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, Alex, I hear you.
Okay, so I think my question is more related to how we are going to scale up regards to the callback that comes from the SMS, right? So let's say the worst case scenario, we have about 1 million black, and all these callbacks are coming to the server. So I was saying that what if we actually delegate this callback per account? Let's say our major client will be on a separate account, or let's say, for instance, we have client A, who actually submit his number to be on its own account. Client B, the same thing, client C, the same thing. Instead of putting them all together, so in case of any sort of blackmailing or bouncing or compliance, we can actually isolate those sort of issues related to a particular account than to put all of them together. So at the end of the day, we end up maintaining our reputation with the email services and able to isolate those who might actually use our system access form of means of phishing or means of attacking others or means of sending unnecessary stuff or unsolicited emails to others. We're able to make sure that we keep our major clients clean to some extent and able to also track them in some extent as well. I mean, you get my point.
I get your point.
Yeah. So I wanted your opinion on that.
Yes.
So that if you can actually spread a particular part.
Yeah. So actually, when it comes to that, we default because I think we discussed it a while back. By we, I think Francis, Mina, and I, and it's been kind of sluggish from my end. But yes, something like priority clients would have their own unique ones, which is not mixed with their Mansan4. The Mansan4 cannot worry the priority ones. Yes, and it's very possible. All what we need to do is where we are building the Auto3 connection, right? Based off we sending the email, we pick the M details belonging to that account. And let me see if I remember where it is. Yes. Is it? Yeah. So this is where we build a Auto3 connection, right? Currently, we are reading it straight from settings with the access key and the secret access key. So based off this, depending on the client that's sending out the email, you can put a condition and pick the right configuration. So as soon as you pick the right configuration here, that's it. I think that's all we need to do. Once you put the right configuration, everything is set up. You point to the correct endpoints and all of that. So it's about, there were actually two things that I was really into to be able to handle that. One, it looks like reputation works on general accounts and also, so this one here, you pay for the research, give me. So we may need to create an account in a new region to be able to use a separate one. That's one. And the second one would be to use a different IP for those clients. I've not fully read into the IP one, but but it's there. There's a part where if we designate IP, then based on that IP, then they treat them different or something like that. I don't fully read into one, but the part where we were going for, the idea I had was unfortunately SES, it wasn't working like the app instances. I've forgotten how Amazon calls their app. Is it EC2? Yes, it doesn't work like an EC2 instances where you can spin up several EC2 instances. It kind of ties it to the account. So what we saw was we can create a different region and use a different region instead. Yes, so that's the idea we had to how to handle what you were suggesting. Alex.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think either is good, then I think we're good to go. Because that would be a concern when you have a high traffic.
You are very right. Yeah, you are very right.
Like equal to 100 traffic.
Hello. Yeah, so I have a question. Let's say I receive a client sends an email to a user, let's say his customer, and the customer blacklists the email. So he send it to spam. And later the customer decides to change his or her mind and remove the email from spam. Right? Do we get a callback for that?
I do not, the honest answer to that is I do not remember. We would have to try it out and see. We do have endpoints set up for all the real notifications. So we would have to try it and see. However,
you mentioned this in your explanation, you mentioned that if the customer doesn't manually move it from spam again, so from there, I presume there was a callback.
The callback we have available does not represent, it doesn't have one that reverses a complaint. So I have to confirm. I feel as if I've tried it before and it brought it back as, what's it called? Delivered or something like that, but I have to confirm. But with the question you just asked, Lawrence, even if currently there's no way, currently there is no logic that handles if an email has been pushed into the blackmail table and the user changes from spam to so let's say we sent email, delivered, opened, then pushed to spam. So now it's in the blacklist table. Now the user moves from spam into his inbox. Even if we are to receive a notification, there is currently no logic to revert taking the email from the blacklist table. Yeah, so that's the status we currently are at on this.
Okay, so once you are added to the blacklist, there's no way to remove it unless we manually do it.
Yes, unless we manually access the admin or the DB and delete the emails from there. Yeah. I remember a while back we were considering adding a counter to it, but I don't think we moved forward with that.
If it then means all the blacklisted, we won't get status complaint.
Would you come again?
We won't have status complaint against the blacklisted emails in a DB.
We won't have complaints. No. So if you put it in blacklist, so the first email, the email job that had the email, you would find the email in there, but consequent ones after that, you wouldn't find them.
Where in the code you were showing us the array or the list of statuses that you blacklist, that is complaint and
bounced.
Bounced. Yeah. And the complaints will only come from the customer when the customer actively does something. And there's an endpoint to handle that one.
The complaint comes as a notification, the same way we get our delivered and opened and clicked on all. So it's through the same endpoints.
Or then I guess if he removes it, it will also come through the same one.
Yes, it will come. However, as I said, Amazon showed us all the various statuses they have, but I don't remember seeing something like maybe reverse bounce or reverse complaint or something like that. I don't remember seeing a status like that.
But as it stands, once it goes into the blacklisted table, there isn't a logic somewhere that removes it from. Okay.
Okay, Fifi, I have a question.
Sure.
You know, you are saying that the blacklisted emails, it's logged in a database somewhere. So any email that we send, it checks, and if it's not in the blacklisted, we send.
Yeah.
There's also Amazon suppression lists. Okay, in the first place, we are getting the blacklisted emails to log into the database from the Amazon, Amazon, right? Per the feedback they
per the feedback they provide us, yes.
On the UI bits of the front end bits of the email. Yeah, they have suppression list, and normally when I go there, I see a lot of emails that have been suppressed with the feedback bounce or complaint. Is it the same thing that we are logging here?
I think it should, and the way if you confirm is if you are able to get a suppression list and then just do a comparison to see.
Come again.
The way we can confirm it, I believe it should be because Amazon is sharing their statuses with us, right? So a way we can actually confirm this if we just perform a visual confirmation of what we have on Amazon with what we have in RDB to see if they are matched.
Yes. And yes, can't actually search for. They've done so that you can't search for a particular email. If you want to search, you have to actually go through it one by one, which is very stressful. But the main question is that if they are also logging it, meaning that if we delete or remove someone from the blacklisted database, you have to manually go and also remove it from Amazon because Amazon sees it as blacklisted.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes, that is correct, Francis. That is correct. But I think that's something we all should take into mind. Okay, so we can get the suppression list via code.
Yeah, code. Okay.
Yes. So list suppress destination, which are those emails that on the suppression list for your account. Yes. So the team can connect to the bottom 3, get this, and then compare with RDB.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, they are also using bounce and complaints just as we are.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions? Yeah, so as I said, one thing you guys can also do is you can just read through this, the endpoint provided to us. I'm sure there are a lot of things over there that I personally have not taken advantage of that I believe we'll be able to take advantage of. Yes. So during your spare time, while you're in the washroom, instead of watching TikTok, you can, read documentations more. Yeah. Okay, so
Steve,
yeah, all right.
I think recently, we had issue bottleneck. I think the node guys can throw more light on it and see how we
Okay.
had that particular issue.
Sure
and
thing.
we can find a way around it. I don't know, but it seems some days back, you guys had issues in the black where we're supposed to send about
Hello.
End up, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you please come again? I lost focus a bit.
Okay. Recently, I think during the 6 months or somewhere, we're supposed to send big number of emails, black, but it turns out that only few went through, and most of them failed. We wanted to discuss on the bottleneck and the way forward before we leave this meeting. So if you can elaborate or throw more light on that particular issue, that we see how we can find a solution or prevent any future occurrence.
I think Lawrence.
Okay, so the issue was the emails did not, could you confirm if the emails left the system or not?
Lawrence.
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah. Do you know much? I think that day you were working on that with Andy.
No, I wasn't there. I don't think.
Okay.
No.
So just hearing the error, there are a couple of places you can just look at to confirm that. If an email is leaving the system, that is, the email is moving from our messaging platform to SCS, and it's a bulk email. What we do is we split it up into chunks and allow it to be threaded. So it's the Firebulk email. There are two ways you can look at this. One, actually, I think 3 or 4 ways. You can take a look at your, you can just look at your server memory usage. You should be able to see the runners working. By the runners, I'm talking about the Celery runners, since we use Celery runners to run. That's one. The second one is, I believe we still have Django admin for the email platform. When you access your Django admin, you should be able to see that particular task. The task would look something like, just a minute. You can find the Celery task. Since we use Celery to run them, the task should be running. I'll also mention how you'll be able to confirm that the Celery isn't running. So the first thing, just look at your memory usage, your CPU usage. You should see that the Celery is working. The second one is you can look at the access the Django admin. I'm sure you have that, and you can take a look at Celery results, task results. You should be able to see what's it called? The split items. By the split items, I'm referring to the EBO tax. Under the tax name, when you click on the tax ID, you should be able to you should see success. You have a couple of failures here myself, example. And all of that's in here. Yes. So that's another way. Then another way you can keep an active eye on it. You can keep an active eye on it is to also look at the logs. When the fire email is going out, it writes to the bulk logger. and it lets you know the chunk. So it will each what's it called? Each email blast is chunked into, I think, 10,000 emails per chunk. And over here, we even have a percentage completion over here. So just take a look at the bulk logger, and it would let you know how far along it's gone with the chunking. Then the same bulk logger too, if I remember correctly, we are creating this bulk logger here. Let me confirm, or I took it out. Okay, it looks like I took it out from here because I was spamming it too much. But okay, so looks like I'm not logging here. But I remember I used to log here, but I think it was spamming, spamming, I didn't do too much. Yeah, with full of information that you're going to read. So this chunk should give you enough information. So once a chunk is completed, it will update, your total percentage chunk and all of that. So those are, I think, 3 places you can take a look to know if it's working and if the emails are going out. Final one is, if you want to write raw queries, you can write raw queries. You can query the email log table to see the job ID. You should be able to get the job ID of the email blast. I mean, it's part of the, I think you're able to get a job ID from the front end, or just access the DB, find the user and all of that. But you're able to get a job ID, and based on the job ID, you can just ping the DB, count the number of rows you have in the email log to see if that's updated. If it's updated, that means everything is going on well, rows are being inserted. You can also, another way you can check is you can also check your Apache endpoint to see if SNS is hitting our endpoints. And then you can also, because once we hit an endpoint, this is an email, but as soon as we push the email kind of goes out. So our DLR should also be populated. So those are several ways we can check to see if the bulk is still bulking, more or less. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we still, because we don't have enough information about what's happening, I think we still have to simulate or benchmark and see how it can turn out in the worst case scenario.
Sure.
So that to take it from there. All the same, I think I also follow up with the log team. I think that day was Andy or Kwazu, one of them, and see what happened and the way forward. I guess so. If you need something, we come back to you.
Yes. If you need something, you can. I'm still part of the chat that we have. So if you need something, you can just hit the chat up, and yeah, I would try to respond over there.
All right. I think that's all. That's all from my end. Yeah.
All right, Alex. Please, is that everything from everyone?
Yeah, from me.
Okay. Jojo.
Sorry.
Okay, Eric. Yeah.
Fifi. Is it okay if you share more light on setting up a new corporate account? Is it corporate? I'm using the word correctly. Just like how we have just one account with Amazon, and then we protect our reputation thing. So we kind of
yeah, at the back what you talk about. I don't know. I'm tempted to say you can look at the current template and replicate it during the creation. And yeah, because what you would need is for now, you need to go to a new region. Alex understands what I'm saying. You need to go to a new region and then create an Amazon SES in the new region, and then get the the keys. And I no longer have access to the Amazon platform, so some of these things, and I think they even changed their interface as of last year or something like that. But these are the key points. Creating the new SES in a new platform, there's a couple of clicks. What you need to put in mind is how to set up your endpoints. And I took us through the SNS, that's the simple notification system. Since we already have the simple notification system, we just create a topic and then subscribe the same endpoints to it. And what else do we need? I believe that's it, more or less. Yes, the whitelisting. Ooh, the whitelisting. The whitelisting will be some wavy, but because what you whitelist on West will not be whitelisted on East. So there's that. That was again.
Where whitelisting is what exactly?
Could you come again?
Whitelisting is what exactly?
Whitelisting.
What exactly are we?
Making sure the person you using the sent from, you own that email.
Okay.
Yeah. You own that email. Personally, I don't believe it might be too complicated. There may be a couple of trials and errors. However, when you create a new account, it's created in sandbox mode for you. So you'll be able to play around with it. So what I would suggest is you can use the format of the existing one to create a new one. The only differentiator would be the connection keys. I don't even think, I might be wrong, but I don't even think we need to change the keys. What we need to change would be the region. I might be wrong, because the key kind of belongs to the account. So we have to confirm if the account has access to region A and region B. So what we need to do is just change the region or something, but I'm skipping ahead. But basically, it's intermediate and it's you can use a sample configuration from the already set up one to create a new one in a new region. Yeah. I hope that makes sense.
I'm sure it does 100%. 100% to Alex.
Yeah.
For me, it's like
yeah, you just have to read through and just read up. You can pull. I think there are a couple of things that you can download and re-upload to save the config. The only major difference I would say currently is the new one you would spin up would be in sandbox mode, and this existing one is already in production mode. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We still have to
Sure thing. Sure
think
thing.
about the whole thing, and I think we'll be fine. Like I said,
Okay.
if we have to content that we think we still not responsible about.
Sure.
But for
thing.
now, I think we have to go and read them. Dive a little bit deeper to how to fill up.
Okay. Okay then. Thanks for your time, everyone. And have a great day.
Yeah, thank
Thank you, Fee. So, Fee, just to confirm, this is our last meeting, right? So
Yes.
subsequently, when we have any concerns, we can reach you on the WhatsApp page, right?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Okay then. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your day.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.